NFL teams can say what they want about the best 53 players making the final roster. The reality is that if you're a drafted rounds 14, the odds are outstanding that you'll stick around for at least a year. After that, it gets a bit murky, but even most fifth-round picks find their way onto the final 53-man roster for their team, at least initially. Having said that, here are the 5 highest draft players that were cut, and what might have led to their demise. 1. Dorian Johnson, OG, Arizona Cardinals, number 115, 4th round. I don't want to get into too much detail because not all the information is public, but there were reports behind the scenes last year that Johnson had health concerns related to his liver that would make him undraftable. However, when Arizona picked him up in the 4th round, albeit 2 rounds later than I had him graded, I questioned the validity of those concerns. As it stands, either that or the improper healing of his foot would seem to be the major reasons for Johnson being a shocking early cut. Johnson had plug-and-play written all over him from his college tape, while also offering the tenacity, work ethic and football character that screamed long-term starter. Perhaps the foot injury erased more of his agility than was initially expected, and Arizona didn't count on him ever recovering the same level of movement. Either way, a really disappointing cut considering all that Johnson would have been capable of if healthy. 2. Zach Banner, OT, Indianapolis Colts, number 137, 4th round. This was just a whiff by the Colts front office, plain and simple. Banner's tape revealed an obviously undraftable player who was beaten by inside and outside moves consistently off the edge, and was far too lethargic in his movements to be a threat as a run blocker. Banner couldn't crack an offensive line with some of the worst depth in the NFL, but was still somehow claimed by Cleveland off waivers. He's a great guy, but not an NFL player. Love a lot of what Ballard did, but the Zach Banner pick in the 4th is something else, man. UDFA tape, even if his weight if down IDK man. John Ledyard at Ledyard Mock Draft April 30, 2017. 3. Jake Elliott, K, Cincinnati Bengals, number 153, 5th round. The 5th round is when I believe it is okay to begin considering a kicker, but I still wouldn't pull the trigger unless my roster was loaded and the kicker was an all-around stud prospect. Most evaluators I know didn't even believe Elliott was the best kicker in the class, which made his selection in the 5th round over Zane Gonzalez even more surprising. Elliott started the preseason 33 on field goal attempts, but then missed 3 of his last 4 attempts, all coming over the final 2 games. I don't know jack about kickers and won't pretend like I do, but Gonzalez is a Cleveland Brown, and Elliott is on the Bengals practice squad, so there you go. 4. Jeremy McNichols, RB, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, number 162, 5th round. The 126th player on my board. I'm taking a baby L here, because I thought McNichols could be a serviceable backup in the NFL. McNichols was a player who wanted to run with the patience and deliberation of Le'Veon Bell, but didn't have the same athletic and physical traits to be nearly as successful. Based on everything I've heard, McNichols struggled massively with picking up the playbook and properly executing his assignments, something that was an issue for a lot of teams in his pre-draft evaluation. I was unaware of these concerns at that time, but it appears that those weaknesses inhibited McNichols from staying on the field consistently throughout the preseason, and often drew the frustration of the coaching staff as well. 5. D'Angelo Yancey, WR, Green Bay Packers, number 175, 5th round. Yancey ended up in wide receiver heaven in Green Bay, but the problem became the fact that the room as a whole was just too talented. The receiver had a solid camp and preseason, but the Packers' bizarre choice to continue to keep the Jeff Janis experience alive meant putting Yancey, Max McCaffrey and Malachi Dupre on waivers. Yancey has been brought back to the Green Bay practice squad, and although I was far from his biggest fan pre-draft, I wouldn't consider his time in Green Bay finished just yet.